Hi, I'm Claire. I'm 28, work in marketing, and I've spent my entire life being second best to my perfect older sister. But that's about to change. My apartment isn't huge, but it's mine. Every piece of furniture, every decorative pillow, every framed poster, I paid for it all myself. No help from anyone, especially not my parents who seem to think Melissa hung the moon. Your place looks amazing. Those new curtains really brighten it up, Tyler said, sprawled on my couch with a beer in hand. He's been my best friend since college, the only person who truly sees me. Thanks. Took 3 weekends of overtime to afford them, but worth it. Meanwhile, what's Melissa up to these days? Still finding herself at 32? I rolled my eyes. According to Mom, she's between opportunities again. Got fired from another job for, surprise, not showing up. And let me guess, your parents think it's the company's fault? Dad literally said, and I quote, "They just couldn't appreciate her creative approach to scheduling." We both laughed, but it hurt. It always hurts. When I was struggling through college with 2 jobs, Melissa was getting monthly checks from our parents because her artistic temperament made consistent work impossible. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil. Claire, honey, it's Mom. Just letting you know that Melissa's having a bit of trouble with her landlord again. We told her she could use your spare key to crash at your place for a while. You've got all that extra space anyway. Love you. I nearly dropped my phone. They what? Tyler sat up straight. What happened? They gave Melissa my spare key, the one I gave them for emergencies. They just handed it over without even asking me. You're kidding me. I wasn't. I paced around my living room, fury building. She's been evicted again, and apparently the solution is my apartment, my space that I worked for. Call them back. Tell them no. They didn't ask, Tyler. They told me. It's already done. My hands were shaking as I stared around my sanctuary. The thought of Melissa invading my space, using my things, probably breaking stuff and never replacing it, just like she'd done my entire life. When we were kids, she broke my science fair project the night before judging. In high school, she borrowed my prom dress and returned it with wine stains. Last Christmas, she used my credit card information by accident to buy herself gifts. And every single time, Mom and Dad made excuses for her. I can't do this anymore, I whispered, sinking onto the couch beside Tyler. I can't keep being the responsible one who gets punished while she gets rewarded for being a disaster. Tyler squeezed my shoulder. So don't. What if you finally stood up for yourself? I looked around my apartment again, seeing it with new eyes. Everything I'd worked for was about to be handed to Melissa on a silver platter. Again. You know what? You're right. If they think they can just give away my space like it's nothing, they've got another thing coming. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to roll over and take it. This was my apartment. And if Melissa wanted it, she was going to find out exactly what happens when you push me too far. I stormed into my parents' house the next morning without knocking. Mom was in the kitchen making her famous blueberry pancakes, Melissa's favorite. How dare you give her my key? That's a complete violation of my privacy. Mom barely looked up from the stove. Don't be so dramatic, Claire. Your sister is going through a rough patch. When is she not? And that doesn't give you the right to hand out keys to my apartment. Dad wandered in. Lower your voice. It's just for a few weeks until Melissa gets back on her feet. Like the few weeks she borrowed my car and returned it with a busted transmission? Or when she deleted all my thesis research from my laptop? My phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Thanks for letting me crash. Moving my stuff in Friday. BTW, can I use your work clothes? Mine are at the cleaners. I shoved the phone in their faces. She's not just staying a night or two. She's moving in, without even asking me. I left them stammering excuses and drove straight to Tyler's apartment. They didn't even apologize, I ranted, pacing his living room. It's always Melissa needs this or Melissa deserves that. What if... Tyler leaned forward with a mischievous glint in his eye. What if you let her move in to an empty apartment? I stopped pacing. What do you mean? Move all your stuff out. Everything. She shows up to an empty shell. Back at my building, I ran into my neighbor Nora in the elevator. "Hey, Claire, your sister was buzzing my apartment earlier. Said she forgot her key." "She doesn't have a key. Well, she shouldn't have one." Nora raised an eyebrow. "Family drama?" I found myself spilling the whole story. To my surprise, Nora was immediately on board. "I've got a storage unit in the basement with extra space, and my nephew installs security systems. We could set up cameras, catch her red-handed." "You'd really help me?" "Honey, I've watched that sister of yours park in my spot, steal your packages, and sweet-talk the building manager into using the gym on your membership. It's about time someone taught her a lesson." Over the next 3 days, Tyler helped me secretly move my valuables to Nora's storage unit. My artwork, electronics, expensive kitchenware, anything Melissa might pawn or claim as her own. "What about furniture?" Tyler asked, as we carried out my grandmother's antique jewelry box. "I've got a buddy with a moving truck," Nora chimed in. "Thursday night work for you? We'll clear everything out while Sister Dearest is at that concert she keeps posting about online." Thursday evening, Nora's nephew Kevin installed tiny cameras in my living room, bedroom, and kitchen. "They connect to this app," he explained, downloading it onto my phone. "Motion activated, audio and video." I looked around my nearly empty apartment, a strange mix of anxiety and excitement bubbling in my chest. "You sure about this?" Tyler asked softly. "More sure than I've ever been about anything." Friday morning, I sat in Zach's apartment across town, staring at my phone screen. We'd been dating for 3 months, and when I explained my sister's situation, he'd immediately offered his place as my command center. "They just pulled into the parking lot," Zach said, peering over my shoulder at the security camera feed. "Your sister looks like she's brought half her wardrobe." Sure enough, Melissa was directing Dad as he lugged several suitcases from the car. Mom followed with grocery bags. We watched as Dad used the key to open my apartment door. The cameras caught their faces perfectly as they stepped inside. "What the hell?" Dad's voice came through crystal clear. "Where's all her stuff?" Mom spun around in confusion. Melissa pushed past them, dropping her designer handbag on the bare floor. "Very funny, Claire. Where'd you hide everything?" I'd left just enough to make it interesting. A single folding chair, a roll of toilet paper, and a note on the refrigerator that read, "Enjoy your stay." "She's ignoring me. This is ridiculous." Melissa kicked the folding chair, sending it clattering across the bare floor. "She can't just take everything. This is my place now." "It's still her apartment, Melissa," Dad said, his voice strained. "Well, I need somewhere to live. You promised me this place would be furnished. What am I supposed to do now?" "We didn't promise," Mom began. "You said Claire would help me. You always say she'll help me, and then she pulls this crap. She's always been jealous of me." Zach raised his eyebrows. "Wow, your parents look shocked." They did. Mom and Dad exchanged glances as Melissa continued her tantrum, kicking walls and screaming about how I'd always tried to make her look bad. Monday morning, I was in a meeting with my boss Diane when the receptionist called. "There's a woman claiming to be your sister here? Says it's an emergency." In the lobby stood Melissa, wearing one of the few outfits I'd left behind, strategically selected to be just a little too small for her. "You think you're so clever," she hissed. "You humiliated me in front of Mom and Dad? You humiliated yourself. Now please leave before security gets involved." "Not until you give me what I deserve. I told Mom and Dad you stole my things when you cleared out your apartment." Diane had followed me and was watching with concern. "Is everything okay, Claire?" "My sister was just leaving. She's confused about some belongings." "Confused? You're the thief. You've always taken what should be mine." Melissa's voice echoed through the lobby, drawing stares. "I think you should step into my office," Diane said firmly. "Both of you." Inside, Diane closed her door and turned to face us. "I don't know what's happening here, but Claire is one of my most valuable team members, and I don't appreciate anyone causing a scene. But if you have a personal dispute, handle it elsewhere. Not at my company." Melissa stormed out of Diane's office, but the damage was already done. By afternoon, everyone at work had heard about my crazy sister. Instead of ruining my reputation, she'd only strengthened it. "You okay?" Diane asked after escorting Melissa out. "Better than okay. I've got something to show you." I pulled up the security footage on my phone, Melissa's meltdown in my empty apartment, her admitting my parents had promised her my place without my permission, her claiming my belongings were actually hers. Diane's eyes widened. "Your sister needs help, Claire. Professional help. Tell that to my parents. They've enabled this her whole life." That weekend, at my cousin Rachel's birthday dinner, I brought my laptop. The whole extended family was there. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone except my immediate family, who'd declined the invitation after I'd moved out without telling them where. "Before we cut the cake, I have something to share," I announced, connecting my laptop to Uncle Dave's TV. "You've all heard stories about Melissa over the years. Here's the reality." I played the footage. Melissa's tantrum, her lies, her wearing my clothes to my workplace. The room fell silent. "She told everyone I abandoned her," Aunt Martha said finally. "Said you refused to help when she needed a place to stay." "She's been borrowing money from me for months," Uncle Dave added. "Said it was for medical bills you refused to help with." One by one, family members shared how Melissa had played them against me for years, how my parents had backed up her stories. The next day, Mom called, her voice tight. "What have you done? The family group chat is blowing up. Uncle Dave just canceled their vacation with us." I showed them the truth. Maybe now they'll stop funding Melissa's lifestyle. "We were just trying to help her. You've always had everything come so easily." "Nothing in my life came easily, Mom. I worked for everything while you handed it all to Melissa on a silver platter." 2 weeks later, Zach helped me move into my new apartment. Bigger, with better security, and a terrace. Tyler and Nora came to help unpack. "Heard your sister got fired from her new job," Tyler said, arranging books on my shelf. "Apparently, she badmouthed her boss to a client." "And your parents had to cancel their anniversary cruise," Nora added. "Something about unexpected expenses." "Melissa moved in with them," I confirmed. "Turns out when you're not bankrolling someone's life, it gets expensive." That evening, after everyone left, my phone rang. Dad. I let it go to voicemail. "Claire, please, we made mistakes. Your mother's a mess. Can't we talk about this? Melissa's really struggling without your support. We need you to—" I deleted the message before he finished. Then I blocked his number. 3 months later, at the company holiday party, Diane introduced me to the CEO as our rising star. My promotion had just been announced. "To new beginnings," Zach said, clinking his glass against mine. Through the window, I could see the city lights sparkling. Somewhere out there, my family was dealing with the consequences of their choices. Without me to bail them out. Without me to take advantage of. Without me at all. "To boundaries," I replied, taking a sip of champagne. "And to finally being free." What would you have done if you were Claire? Would you have completely cut your family off like she did? Or given them one more chance to make things right? Have you ever had to cut off a toxic family member? And how did that work out for you? If you enjoyed this revenge story, hit that like button to let me know. Subscribe to see more stories like this one. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences might help someone else who's dealing with similar family drama right now.